Welcome to our deep dive into Ursula K. Le Guin's translation of the Tao Te Ching.
Oh, cool.
We've got excerpts from her introduction,
Okay.
the text itself, and even some of her personal commentaries.
Wow.
Think of this deep dive as a refreshing sip from a 2,500-year-old spring.
Okay.
We're going to explore the core concepts of Taoism.
Uh-huh.
Not the religious dogma,
Yeah.
but the philosophy that resonates across cultures and time.
Right.
And helping us navigate this ancient wisdom is, well, an expert on ancient wisdom.
I wouldn't say I'm an expert on all ancient wisdom.
Right.
But the Tao Te Ching definitely holds a special place for me.
Okay.
And seeing it through Le Guin's eyes is a real treat. She brings this wonderful blend of poetry and accessibility to the text.
Speaking of Le Guin, you might know her best as an award-winning science fiction author.
Right.
So it's fascinating to see her take on this ancient philosophical work.
Yeah.
But before we get too far, let's start with the most fundamental question.
Okay.
What exactly is the Tao?
Well, as Le Guin points out in her introduction,
Yeah.
the Tao literally means the way.
Right.
But as chapter 1 tells us,
Okay.
the way you can go isn't the real way. The name you can say isn't the real name. So right off the bat, we're dealing with paradox.
Okay.
The Tao is the source of everything.
Yeah.
The foundation of reality.
Right.
Yet it defies definition.
Okay, so how am I supposed to wrap my head around that?
Right.
It's like trying to grab smoke.
Yeah.
It's constantly shifting, just out of reach.
Think of it like this.
Okay.
The Tao is like the air we breathe.
Okay.
He can't see it.
Right.
We can't hold it.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't live without it.
Right.
It's the invisible force that sustains everything.
Okay.
And even though it's nameless and formless,
Mhm.
it follows what is the natural order of things.
So it's all around us working behind the scenes, even if we don't realize it?
Exactly.
That reminds me of something Le Guin mentioned about chapter 1.
Uh-huh.
She calls it the Aleph. Like that point in Borges' story, where if you see it rightly,
Yeah.
it contains the entire universe.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
that point of infinite potential.
Right.
The seed from which everything grows.
Yep.
And if we jump ahead to chapter 4,
Okay.
we see another beautiful description.
Okay.
Blunting, edge, loosing, bond, dimming light, the way is the dust of the way.
Oh, wow.
It's humble, almost invisible,
Right.
yet it's the very essence of existence.
I love that image.
Yeah.
The dust of the way. It's so grounding, so unexpected.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think something so vast and profound could be described as dust.
It's a reminder that the Tao isn't some distant, abstract concept.
Okay.
It's woven into the fabric of our everyday lives.
Right.
It's in the way a tree grows, in the flow of water, in the rhythm of our breath.
Okay, so the Tao is this all-encompassing force.
Right.
This way that guides everything.
Uh-huh.
But how does that translate to our actual lives?
Yeah.
What are some of the key concepts we can apply?
One of the most central, and perhaps the most challenging,
Yeah.
is Wu Wei,
Okay.
often translated as not doing
Uh-huh.
or action through inaction.
Okay.
It's about accomplishing things by aligning ourselves with the natural flow of the Tao,
Yeah.
rather than forcing our will upon the world.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this not doing thing.
Right.
It seems counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Like if I just sit back and do nothing,
Uh-huh.
won't nothing get done?
Yeah.
I don't want to just be lazy.
Right.
I want to make things happen.
It's not about passivity at all.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that sometimes the most effective action is to step back,
Okay.
to observe,
Uh-huh.
to let go of control,
Right.
as
Right.
chapter 3 suggests.
Okay.
When you do not doing, nothing's out of order.
So it's more about working with the natural flow of things rather than against it, like a surfer riding a wave,
Right.
not trying to control the ocean, but using its power to move forward.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And this concept of Wu Wei is particularly relevant to leadership and government.
Okay.
The Tao Te Ching suggests that the best leaders are barely known to their followers.
Hmm.
They work quietly behind the scenes,
Right.
guiding rather than controlling.
Have you ever noticed how sometimes when you overmanage a project, it actually backfires?
Yeah,
Maybe if you'd stepped back and trusted your team, things would have gone smoother.
right.
That's a Wu Wei in action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about empowering others,
Uh-huh.
creating the conditions for them to thrive,
Right.
rather than micromanaging every detail, as
Okay.
chapter 17 puts it.
Okay.
True leaders are hardly known to their followers. Next come those the people love and praise. Next come those they fear. Next come those they despise. When there's no trust, there's no trusting.
So it's not about imposing your will on the world,
Right.
but rather harmonizing with it.
Uh-huh.
And that brings us to another key concept,
Yeah.
not wanting.
Yes. The Tao Te Ching Cautions against being consumed by desire for external things, whether it's wealth, status,
Right.
or even knowledge. Chapter 12 paints a vivid picture of this.
Okay.
The 5 colors blind our eyes. The 5 notes deafen our ears. The 5 flavors dull our taste. Racing, chasing, hunting drives people crazy. Trying to get rich ties people in knots.
I've definitely fallen into that trap of chasing after things,
Yeah.
thinking they'll bring me happiness,
Right.
only to find myself feeling empty and frustrated.
Uh-huh.
It's like that saying, the grass is always greener on the other side.
Right.
But what about knowledge?
Mm-hmm.
You said even wanting knowledge can be a problem.
That's right. The Tao Te Ching cautions against knowing too much.
Okay.
It's not about rejecting knowledge altogether,
Right.
but about recognizing its limitations.
Uh-huh.
Chapter 65 warns us.
Okay.
Those who used to know all manage. Those who want to know all warn. Knowing too much is a curse upon the land.
Oh, wow.
It's about being open to new information without clinging to rigid beliefs.
Hmm.
Realizing that we never have the full picture.
So it's more about cultivating wisdom,
Yeah.
which is the ability to apply knowledge in a way that benefits ourselves and others.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about being humble,
Right.
acknowledging that there's always more to learn.
Exactly. It's about embracing not knowing,
Mm-hmm.
which allows us to stay curious and open to new possibilities.
Okay.
And speaking of embracing things that might seem counterintuitive,
Okay.
let's talk about yin.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
What's the big deal about yin? I know it's often associated with feminine qualities,
Right.
but how does that fit into the whole Taoist philosophy?
The Tao Te Ching emphasizes the often overlooked power of yin.
Okay.
Softness,
Uh-huh.
yielding stillness.
Okay.
And it's not about weakness. It's
Oh.
about recognizing that true strength often lies in receptivity,
Uh-huh.
in allowing things to unfold naturally.
He's like that saying, be like water, my friend.
Exactly.
Water is yielding yet unstoppable.
Uh-huh.
It finds its way around obstacles.
Mm,
It carves out canyons over time.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing the strength in yielding,
Right.
the power in receptivity.
Okay.
And this concept is beautifully illustrated in chapter 28.
Okay.
Knowing man and staying woman be the riverbed of the world.
Wow.
It's about recognizing the power of the feminine principle,
Uh-huh.
the yin energy that allows for creation and growth.
That's a beautiful image.
Yeah.
Being the riverbed of the world.
Right.
It makes me think of how a valley, despite being lower than the surrounding mountains, is actually the place where life flourishes.
Right.
It's where water collects,
Huh?
where plants grow,
Yeah.
where communities are built.
It's a perfect example of how yin, though often seen as passive, is actually a source of immense power.
Right.
And this concept of yin is also about personal growth and resilience.
Okay.
Chapter 22 tells us,
Okay.
be broken, to be whole twist, to be straight,
Yeah.
be empty, to be full, wear out, to be renewed.
It's about embracing the cycles of life, recognizing that sometimes we need to break down in order to rebuild,
Right.
to empty ourselves in order to be filled.
And one of the most powerful metaphors for this process is the image of the baby in chapter 55.
Okay.
Soft bones, weak muscles, but a firm grasp. The baby embodies the power of yin, the potential for growth and transformation.
Right.
They're not yet burdened by the world's expectations.
Mhm.
They're pure, unshaped possibility.
And Le Guin points out that the baby is completely unaltruistic,
Right.
not concerned with morality or social expectations, and yet in their pure natural state, they perfectly embody the way.
It's a reminder that we all have that innate potential within us, that uncut wood that Lao Tzu talks about.
Right.
But somewhere along the way, we lose touch with that simplicity,
Yeah.
that natural way of being.
So how do we get back to that uncut wood state?
Mm.
How do we reconnect with that pure potential within ourselves?
Right.
I guess that's where Lao Tzu's wisdom comes in,
Yeah.
offering us a path back to the source.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll explore further as we dive deeper into the Tao Te Ching.
Okay.
We'll look at Lao Tzu's insights on leadership, on society,
Right.
and ultimately on how to live a life of balance and harmony in accordance with the way.
Sounds like we've got a lot more to uncover.
Yeah.
I'm ready to keep diving into this.
I'm excited to see where this deep dive takes us.
Okay, so we've talked about the Tao, that invisible force that guides everything, and some key concepts like wu-wei and not wanting. But I'm still a little fuzzy on how this all plays out in terms of leadership and society.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's easy to talk about these things in the abstract.
Right.
But how do we actually live them?
Yeah.
How does the Tao Te Ching inform our approach to leadership, government, and even our own personal growth?
I think that's what I find so fascinating about the Tao Te Ching.
Yeah.
It's not just a collection of lofty ideas. It offers practical wisdom for navigating the complexities of life.
Absolutely. And when it comes to leadership,
Yeah.
Lao Tzu throws out the conventional playbook.
We often associate leadership with assertiveness, with taking charge.
Hmm.
But the Tao Te Ching presents a very different model.
Yeah, it's almost like it's saying the best leaders are the ones who lead without even seeming to lead.
Exactly. Chapter 66 highlights this beautifully.
Okay.
Just so a wise soul, wanting to be above other people, talks to them from below, and to guide them, follows them. It's about leading by serving,
Right.
by understanding the needs of those you lead.
It's a very different way of thinking about power.
Mm-hmm.
Not about imposing your will,
Right.
but about empowering others.
And, it actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
If you create a culture where people feel supported and trusted, they're naturally going to be more motivated and productive.
Right.
They don't need someone constantly looking over their shoulder telling them what to do.
It's about creating the conditions for people to thrive, to reach their full potential.
Exactly.
I'm thinking about those times when I've felt micromanaged. It just makes me want to shut down. But when I'm given space and autonomy, I can really shine.
Right. It's about recognizing the inherent wisdom and self-organizing capacity of people.
Yeah.
And this applies not just to individual leadership,
Right.
but also to governance.
Okay.
In Chapter 57, Lao Tzu critiques those in power who try to control everything through laws and regulations, through excessive planning and intervention. He suggests that the more restrictions and prohibitions in the world, the poorer people get.
So it's about trusting people to make their own choices, to find their own way, rather than trying to impose a rigid set of rules on everyone.
And this brings us back to that idea of the uncut wood that we talked about earlier.
Right.
It's that raw, natural state, unburdened by social conditioning and artificial constructs. Lao Tzu sees immense value in that authenticity, in allowing individuals to express their unique potential.
It makes me think of that quote by Maria Montessori.
Oh, yeah.
The greatest sign of success for a teacher is to be able to say, the children are now working as if I did not exist. It's about creating an environment where people can flourish, where they can be their authentic selves.
Exactly. And it's not just about letting people do whatever they want.
Right.
It's about creating a framework that allows for both individual expression and collective harmony.
So it's about finding that balance between freedom and responsibility. It's about trusting people to make their own choices while also recognizing that we're all interconnected, that our actions have consequences for others.
And this leads us to another fascinating aspect of Lao Tzu's philosophy.
Okay.
His perspective on power. We often associate power with dominance,
Right.
with control over others. But the Tao Te Ching offers a different understanding.
Okay.
True power lies not in force or coercion, but in alignment with the Tao, with the natural order.
It's about understanding that real power comes from working with the flow of the universe, not against it.
Chapter 34 beautifully describes the Tao. The great way runs to left or right, the 10,000 things depending on it, living on it, accepted by it. Doing its work, it goes unnamed, clothing. And feeding the 10,000 things, it lays no claim on them and asks nothing of them.
It's a power that nourishes and sustains, that operates effortlessly without seeking recognition or control.
Right.
It's like the sun, it doesn't demand our attention, it just shines.
Yeah.
And yet life on Earth wouldn't be possible without it.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And, in Chapter 49, Lao Tzu says something truly remarkable.
Okay.
The wise have no mind of their own, finding it in the minds of ordinary people. They're good to good people, and they're good to bad people. Power is goodness.
Wow. That challenges a lot of our assumptions about power, doesn't it?
It does.
He's saying that true power comes from connecting with others, from recognizing our shared humanity.
It's about letting go of the ego,
Right.
of that need to be right or superior. It's about trusting the wisdom of the interconnectedness of all things.
This reminds me of something I was struggling with recently.
Oh, yeah.
I was really attached to my idea for a project, and I wasn't open to other people's suggestions.
Yeah.
It created a lot of tension and ultimately hurt the project.
It's easy to fall into that trap of thinking we know best.
Right.
But when we let go of that need to control, we open ourselves up to new possibilities, to a wisdom that's greater than our own.
And this brings us back to that core concept of wu wei,
Yeah.
of effortless action.
Right.
It's about recognizing that true power comes from aligning ourselves with the Tao, with the natural flow of the universe.
It's about letting go of the need to force things to control outcomes. It's about trusting that when we act in harmony with the Tao, things will unfold in the best possible way.
Okay, but this is where I get stuck. If we're not supposed to strive or force things, how can we work towards a better future?
Yeah.
How can we be agents of change without violating the principle of wu-wei?
It's a great question. It seems like a paradox. If we're not supposed to force things, how can we make a difference?
Yeah.
That's where the subtlety and nuance of the Tao Te Ching come into play.
Okay.
It's not about rejecting action altogether, but rather about understanding the nature of right action.
So it's not about sitting back and doing nothing, but about acting in a way that aligns with the Tao, with the natural flow of the universe.
Exactly. It's about understanding that true change often arises organically from a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of all things.
Okay.
Think of it like planting a seed. We can't force it to grow,
Right.
but we can create the conditions for it to flourish.
Uh-huh.
We can provide it with sunlight, water, and nutrients.
That's a beautiful analogy.
Yeah.
And it highlights the importance of patience. We live in a culture that's obsessed with instant gratification. But real growth takes time. It's about trusting the natural unfolding of events, recognizing that we're participants in a larger process.
And that's where the concept of yin comes into play again. It's about recognizing the power of receptivity, of allowing ourselves to be guided by the wisdom of the Tao.
Right.
It's about listening to the whispers of intuition, to the subtle signs and synchronicities that point us in the right direction.
It's almost like we need to become more like that baby in chapter 55. Open, receptive, trusting.
Exactly. And that brings us to a fascinating passage in chapter 63.
Okay.
Do without doing, act without action. Savor the flavorless. Treat the small as large, the few as many. Meet injury with the power of goodness.
So much wisdom packed into those few lines.
Right.
It's a reminder that true power often lies in the subtle and the unseen.
It's about recognizing the importance of every action, no matter how small, and approaching every situation with a heart full of compassion.
And it all starts with cultivating that inner stillness, that awareness of the Tao within ourselves. It's not about withdrawing from the world, but about bringing that awareness into everything we do.
And when we do that, we become a force for positive transformation in the world. It's like a ripple effect. When we change ourselves, we change the world around us.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about leadership, power, societal change, and even touched on some of the more mystical aspects of the Tao Te Ching.
Yeah.
But there's still so much more to explore.
Absolutely. There are layers upon layers of wisdom in this text. It's like an onion. The more you peel back, the more you discover. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's take a moment to digest what we've learned so far.
Okay.
What's resonating with you most strongly at this point?
I think what's really hitting home for me is this idea of aligning ourselves with the Tao, of trusting the natural flow of the universe. It's so easy to get caught up in trying to control everything, to force things to go our way. But the Tao Te Ching reminds us that there's a wisdom at work that's far greater than our own limited perspective.
That's a beautiful insight. And it's something that takes practice. It's
Right.
about cultivating that awareness of the Tao in every moment, in every action. And it's about learning to let go, to surrender to the flow of life.
I'm ready to dive deeper into that. What else can the Tao Te Ching teach us about finding that balance, that harmony with the way?
Well, that's a perfect segue into the next part of our deep dive. We're going to explore some of the more mystical dimensions of the Tao Te Ching and look at how these ancient teachings can help us navigate the complexities of modern life.
Sounds intriguing. I'm ready to go deeper into the mystery.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so we've talked about aligning ourselves with the Tao and how it relates to leadership, power, and societal change. But I have to admit, there's a part of me that's still drawn to the more mystical side of the Tao Te Ching.
Yeah, I get that. It's easy to get caught up in the practical applications, but there's a whole other dimension to this text that speaks to the deeper mysteries of existence.
Exactly. It's like there's this hidden depth waiting to be explored. And honestly, that's what excites me the most about this deep dive.
Well, you're in luck because that's exactly where we're headed now. We're going to explore those mystical dimensions and see how they can inform our understanding of life and our place in the universe.
Let's do it. Where do we begin?
I think a good place to start is with the idea of returning to the source. This theme pops up throughout the Tao Te Ching, but chapter 16 captures it beautifully. Returning to the root is peace. Peace to accept what must be, to know what endures. And that knowledge is wisdom. Without it, ruin, disorder.
Oh, wow. You know when you read something and it just clicks? That's what's happening for me right now. It's like I've always sensed this truth deep down, but I never had the words for it.
It's a powerful concept, isn't it? It's about recognizing that we're not separate from the Tao, but rather an expression of it. Returning to the source is about coming back into alignment with that truth, with the natural flow of the universe.
It's like finally coming home after a long journey.
Exactly. And this home isn't a physical place.
Yeah.
It's a state of being, a connection to the very essence of existence.
So how do we actually do that? How do we return to the source?
It's not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process, a continual letting go of what separates us from the Tao. It's about shedding those layers of conditioning, the attachments to ego and desire that keep us from experiencing the fullness of our being.
It sounds like a lifelong journey.
It is, but the journey itself is the destination. Each step we take towards the source brings us closer to that state of peace and wholeness.
So what are some practical steps we can take on this journey?
There are many paths you can explore.
Okay.
Meditation and contemplation are powerful tools for quieting the mind and connecting with that inner stillness.
Right.
But it can also be as simple as bringing more awareness to your everyday life, paying attention to your breath, to the sensations in your body, to the beauty of the natural world.
It's about cultivating that presence,
Right.
that ability to be fully in the moment without judgment.
Exactly. And this brings us to another key concept in the Tao Te Ching, embracing the mystery. Chapter 14 speaks to this in a way that always sends chills down my spine. Look at it. Nothing to see. Call it colorless. Listen to it. Nothing to hear. Call it soundless reach. Reach for it. Nothing to hold. Call it intangible. Triply undifferentiated. It merges into oneness, not bright above, not dark below. Never, oh, never can it be named.
Wow, just reading those words, I feel a sense of awe.
Yeah.
It's acknowledging that the Tao, the ultimate reality, is beyond our comprehension.
We can try to grasp it with our minds, but it will always elude us. It's like trying to fit the ocean into a teacup.
So how do we even approach something that's so vast, so unknowable?
By embracing the mystery, it's about recognizing the limitations of our intellect.
Okay.
And opening ourselves to a deeper knowing, and knowing that transcends language and thought.
It's about approaching life with a sense of curiosity and wonder.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to figure everything out.
And that's where intuition comes into play. It's that inner knowing that guides us, even when we can't logically explain it.
It's like trusting your gut feelings.
Yeah.
Those subtle whispers that often point us in the right direction.
And this trust in intuition is essential for navigating the complexities of life, for making decisions that align with our deepest truth.
So we're talking about letting go of control of the need to have all the answers, and instead trusting that inner wisdom that's always available to us.
And that leads us to the ultimate goal of Taoism, finding true freedom. But this freedom isn't about doing whatever we want whenever we want.
Right.
It's about freedom from the tyranny of the ego, from the endless cycle of craving and attachment that keeps us trapped in suffering.
So it's not about escaping responsibility or indulging our every whim.
It's about liberation through alignment with the Tao, living in harmony with the natural flow of the universe.
That makes so much sense. When I think about the times in my life when I've felt truly free, it's always been when I've been in alignment with my values, my purpose.
That's a beautiful example. And this freedom isn't about isolation or withdrawal from the world. It's about engaging with life fully, but without attachment to outcomes.
It's like being in the flow state, fully present and immersed in the experience without worrying about the result.
Exactly. And this is where the Tao Te Ching gets really challenging.
Okay.
It requires a profound shift in perspective, a willingness to surrender our ego-driven agendas and embrace the mystery of the way.
It's about trusting that when we align ourselves with the Tao, everything unfolds as it should.
And this trust isn't blind faith. It's based on a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of all things.
Right.
And a recognition that the universe is inherently benevolent.
Okay, I have to admit, this is all a bit mind-blowing. It's like I'm seeing the world through a whole new lens.
That's the beauty of the Tao Te Ching. It challenges us to rethink our assumptions about reality, about power, about freedom.
So where do we go from here? What does it look like to actually embody these principles in our everyday lives?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the beauty is that there's no one right answer.
Right.
The Tao Te Ching offers us a framework, a set of principles, but it's up to each of us to find our own unique way of embodying them.
It's like we've been given a map, but the journey is ours to create.
And the journey is ongoing. It's a process of continual learning and growth,
Well, I can honestly say that this deep dive has been a truly transformative experience for me. It's opened my eyes to a whole new way of seeing the world and myself.
I'm so glad to hear that. And remember, this is just the beginning. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep trusting in the wisdom of the way.
Thank you so much for guiding me through this exploration. It's been an
Yeah.
incredible journey.
The pleasure was all mine. And remember, the Tao is always there, waiting to be discovered. Keep diving deep, my friend.
I will. And for those of you listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Tao Te Ching. We hope it sparks something within you, a sense of curiosity, a desire to explore the mysteries of existence. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep exploring the wonders of the world within and around you.